Hi everybody, well here we are again. I've got some news. This, for all its cheapness and bits and pieces, was just almost uncontrollable. When you're talking about the dosing air and the conveyancing air and the way in which the pickup tube works, the only thing that worked really good on it was my 3D printed nozzle. That worked fantastic. That gives such a nice cloud. But the gun itself, bit poo. I'm not sure that any of this was working properly, to be fair. But you know, you get what you pay for. Huh? To be honest, the Eastwood was nearly better. Got to clean it up. Apologies for that. It was nearly better, but I've got so much stuff to do. I decided to make a little bit of leap. So, for instance, this is only half of a job that I need to do. They've got to be powder coated a blue, which was all over the workshop the other week because I'd already done some of them. And then I've got 100 of these to put bases on. Not the keys, by the way, so that's from my van. These soap stands for for a local company, all to do with the coronavirus business. But the news is, I got me one of these. Oh yeah. What a difference from these guys. Yorkshire Spray. Really good guy. Ian up there will help you out no end. Everything about this is just far superior. The pickup tube, you've got the vibrating table, which is just more built in. The way in which the nozzle fluidizes on the end, it's just a supreme piece of kit. It's just so much better. Gun itself, easier to handle. Definitely got kind of it's got a dual trigger thing on it. I haven't quite worked it all out yet, but I'm sure I will. All of this stuff, I'm loving all the touch buttons. Just bang it off with the with the set programs. These are for the different gun settings. You've got how much powder you want to blow out through, and a few other bits and pieces. I'm in the middle of reading the manual. I am going to be firing it up real soon. I haven't even touched it yet. I've been so busy with making a bunch of stuff for some NHS projects. That's why the workshop's looking so clean. I've just cleaned it up this morning. We have spent 4 days building things, trolleys, medical trolleys, and a few other bits and pieces, all for the greater good, of course. So, you know, the message is still the same as far as this virus is concerned. Stay at home. As you know, I work by myself here. I'm kind of a constant self-isolation, but please stay at home. Driving to work this morning, bearing in mind this is Easter Sunday, it was 9 o'clock. And there were people everywhere. I don't understand what they're thinking. But anyway, I'll jump off my political box. Just going to update you on a few other bits and pieces as well. There is an obvious need for some filtration here. So this week, maybe next weekend, is to build a little filtration system for the blower. You can see the blue. And of course what that was doing, that was going in through the fan, in through the blower. It was getting burnt, and it was blowing tiny soot particles into the oven. So once I powdered a few things and I swept the floor, there was kind of sooty dust stuff all over the floor. So that didn't go so well. Thankfully it didn't affect the parts at all, but it's something we've got to fix. The other thing that I want to do as well, I did talk about it in a previous video, is I need to funnel this heat over the entire length of the oven. I know I have to do that. I've got a mate who's got a professional oven. I mean a real professional oven, and a big boy at that. And the heat is all just blown through bottom vents on one side, so it kind of circulates like a giant fan oven. My recirculating fan idea, I think, is still valid. I think it'll still work. But do I spend 100 quid on some ducting to go around the bottom of my oven, or do I spend 400 or 500 quid on a big ass old fan that can cope with the heat? Which of course my old girl up there didn't cope so well with it, but it's not dead by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, oh, better shut that. It does its job sort of. Anyway, so after the oven move, which I've documented, this is now going to be the spray booth. I think I've mentioned this before. I took delivery only day before yesterday. When was that? Friday, of some Andrea filters. They're going to go all the way along here. I'm going to have 2 plate fans, very similar to this, obviously somewhat cleaner, to draw the air, and then we're just going to blow it up towards there and see if any dust come out of it. I don't know how I'm going to sample the air, but failing that, we can once the wall's built, we can probably poke it out through there if the landlord doesn't hang me for it. So what we'll probably do is poke a 200-300mm hole out through there. Have that stretching all across the front at a slight angle leaning towards me, I would guess. And then what I'm thinking, and I'm always up for a few comments, what I'm thinking is that I was going to put a vibrating motor on it. So when you turn the fans off for 30 seconds or so, it vibrates the filters, and because they lean forward a little bit, all the dust particles should, or not all of them, but most of the dust particles should just drop out of the front. That's what I'm hoping. Because although these filters aren't exactly expensive, we all know that powder can clog filters mighty quickly. So yeah, I'll give that a go. I mean, you know, I've got a few motors lying around, just stick an offset weight on them and hope for the best and see what happens. You got to try these things. So anyway, so there we are. So I will be shooting these over the next, probably next Saturday. So the next video probably will be me shooting those on my frame that's in the powder coating oven. So I should have got the filter wall built by then. If I can document the filter wall being built, I will, but we're under so much time pressure. We've got so much stuff to do and get out. It's mad. It's just gone completely mad. So, because we're one of the few fabrication companies that are actually staying open, even though my guys are laid off or furloughed off, as they say, I've still got to keep it going, because if we don't keep turning out goods, especially in light of the previous job we've just done for the NHS, they're not going to get their stuff, and if they don't get their stuff, people don't get treated. If people don't get treated, people die, and that's not my thing. Being ex-fire service, we don't let people die if we can help with it. So if I've got to work all the hours God sends to make it happen for the NHS, then God bless them, I'll do everything I can. So there we go. I will post on the end of this video, I'll see if I can add a few pictures of stuff that we've done, just so you can see what we have been up to and why I haven't posted recently, and you'll understand why I put in 2 20-hour days straight and 1 15-hour day to get these trolleys out. I think when you see them, you'll understand there was a lot of work involved in them. Called in a few favours. Social distancing was a bit of a problem, but we managed to segregate the workshop out a little bit. We got our 2 little benches here that we were working apart. Had to buy a new welder for it. To be fair, for a cheap welder, it's a good welder for welding thin material. Highly recommend Vertifusion, Honest & Devon. Hit them up if you want a decent welder that can handle the job. And the other thing is that these MIG 250 pluses, you can stick weld off them as well. So if you want to brush up on your stick welding skills, job's a good one. Just flick the little switch from MIG to MMA, and job's a good one. So there we go. Yeah, weld away. So yeah, the old fabricator there, Fabricator 250, a bit heavy-handed for 0.9 material. It did the job, it's fine for tacking, but yeah, it's a little bit heavy-handed, especially when you consider it's got what can only be described as a monster 400 amp torch. You can see the size of my hand and the size of that torch. You try welding 0.9 with that. Oh, skills. Never mind. Okay, so there we are. I just got to show you this again. I'm so pleased I've got this. This is just, I cannot wait to use it. I'm busting to use it. but I need to get my earth in. I'm seriously considering just earthing to the building, see if that works. We've got some steel stanchions here that go, apparently according to the landlord, they go deep underground, so I might just tie the earth to that. But this, just got to go for it. But please, if you really want some decent service and a decent bit of kit, bearing in mind it's second hand, hit these guys up, give them a shout, speak to Ian, tell him that Rob from Devon sent you. He's just such a helpful guy. Anyway, there we go. Here's me signing off. Please like and subscribe. If you like any of the content, of course, like it. If you don't like it, please tell us why. I do get the odd little comment that's somewhat undesirable, but I'm obviously always open to any sort of comment. Constructive criticism never hurt anybody, but when people are flaming and just being a nuisance, well, I won't say what we would say in Devon about that, but basically it's go away. You know, if you can't say anything good or constructive, don't say anything at all. So anyway, I'll stop preaching. Please subscribe. It does help. It makes me want to do more of these when I get good comments, and when I do get people just watching the video. I don't care really if they subscribe or no. I keep posting the content because hopefully it's helpful for people, you know. As I've just gone through these the list of the guns, you know, I've tried everything, and I don't really want other people to suffer unnecessarily if they're trying to do decent work, decent powder coating jobs, decent fabrication jobs. I don't want them to fall into the trap of buying this, you know, which is perfectly good for DIY, brilliant for DIY stuff. The Eastwood dual voltage, excellent for doing small parts. Couldn't recommend it highly enough for small parts. But man, oh man, when you're talking about doing, you know, hundreds of parts, and you're doing frameworks sort of this size, those little boys will never cut it. And then when you consider the price of powders, I mean, take, you know, this is an example, a 9005 there, black satin we use for railings a lot. It's so expensive. I mean, you know, it's 150 quid a box. And the more expensive stuff is even that stuff, which is the polyzinc. You know, even for a small, I don't know how big that's, 5 kilos. 5 kilos box like that, 80 quid for 5 kilos. So that is when guns like this really don't cut it. They don't cut it. Will they cover? Of course they'll cover. They'll cover it like crazy, Billy I.O. But the amount of powder that you waste, and the fact that the electronics inside are not, they seem to have, I guess from my electronics background, and I've done a little bit of electronics in the past, I would say they're inferior parts, which means the tolerances are kind of 5-10% tolerance of what they, you know, of what they're stated that they can do. Well, those 5 or 10% add up throughout a whole list of components to give you an efficiency that is just really not worth you spending $300-400 on something like this, because as with a lot of these things, you do get what you pay for. So, you know, when you get to the Wagner or Wagner, my missus would love me saying Wagner because she's an opera singer and she loves Wagner. But you know, when you get to the quality of these guys, of what this does, and the Nordstons, you know, the Gemma, whatever you want to call them, you know, you're in a different world. It's a different class of completely different class of powder gun, and you're not going to beat it. You're not going to beat having a decent gun. Anyway, like I say, I've rabbited on enough. Please like and subscribe. I only got a few subscribers, but you know, like I say, I'm not in it for that. I'm in it for hopefully to help people. I've posted on a few powder coating forums. There's a powder coating group on Facebook, which is great. They've told me, you know, some of the things I'm doing are a bit ridiculous. Well, I'm afraid it's only ridiculous if it doesn't work, in my opinion. Everything I've got here now works, and I've tried stuff, and it just, you know, I'm learning. You know, I'm no genius at this. I've had people say, oh, if you want professional powder coating, go here, go there. Yeah, that's fine. But this is built. This works. This, bought and paid for. and it works. The powder booth will be built and will be paid for, and it works. So the only limiting factor now is me, you know? So if I make mistakes, I'm going to publish these mistakes. We all make mistakes, that's why there's rubbers on the ends of pencils. So there we go. Just me, again, just bleating a little bit. I'm very, very tired after a very, very busy week. So anyway, there we go. I'm off now. Got to do a little bit more tidying up of this workshop. Definitely wanting to fire up the Wagner before I go home. So stay safe, stay at home, do as the government advises. Please be very, very conscious of other people around you, the social distancing thing, or as I heard on the radio the other day, social distancing is actually a bad term. Physical distancing is a much better term. So, you know, replace social with physical, and I think you're going to make life a lot easier for everybody. You're going to save lives. You're going to help the NHS, our great NHS. I have to say they saved my life on 2 occasions. Can't speak highly enough of them, and that's the way to go. So stay safe, everybody. I'm looking forward to doing a few more videos as soon as I get a little bit more time. So yeah, hit me up if you've got any questions, and stay safe. Cheers now. Bye.